Greetings, Spud girls and Spud boys. It's time to don our red energy dome hats and travel back to 1980 with Devo as they ask, do we want freedom from choice or freedom from choice? When this album first came out in 1980, I was 15 years old and I was already in love with these two albums, Are We Not Men and Duty Now for the Future. And I thought at the time that freedom of choice was a bit of a letdown. Maybe it was because of the brilliance of this single Whip It and the rest of the album maybe not appealing to a 15-year-old as much as that song. But now I've just picked up a new copy and I've had a chance to reappraise. And what I have found has astounded me. So let's take a deep dive into Devo's Freedom of Choice. Yeah, it's just the girl you want. And there's my feeble attempt to get around copyright restrictions. And I'm really sorry about that. Girl You Want's the opening song from 1980's Freedom of Choice, produced by Robert Margouleff. And the production on this album is absolutely stunning. The bass just pumps through the mix. The synthesizers are cold, clinical, and stabbing all the way through. And there's a separation that we're picking up absolutely everything. And there's not that sort of dullness that might have been on the previous album. Love Girl You Want. It's an iconic riff to begin the proceedings for us here. And the lyrics come in. Sorry, we should talk about also the counterpoint of the bass and the drums when they begin playing opposite that opening riff. And then the wonderful vocal from Mark Mothersbaugh, I believe. And some great lyrics here too, if I can read for you. She sings from somewhere you can't see. She sits on top of the greenest tree. She sends out an aroma of unrefined love, changed to lust in the last verse. It drips on down in the mist from above. That's unhygienic. Anyway, still, she's just a girl. She's just the girl you want. And this is about unrequited love and sort of dreaming of a partner that you may not be able to ever have because they're either so much better or so much beautiful or so much out of your league, whatever it is. And it's just this sort of worshipping from below the tree. Really cool song to start off the album. And then we move on to It's Just Not Right. Sorry, It's Not Right, which is another song about unrequited love. And in this occasion, it's where the guy's girl has gone off and done the cheating, not the other way around. And it's sort of like it's not like Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix taking out the gun and shooting or anything like that. No, no, no. It's more like that. It's like, oh, woe is me. How could she do this? I mean, men aren't supposed to feel this way and be treated this way. Oh, dear. And Devo here are really just taking an opposite satirical view on the way male and female relationships have been traditionally viewed and experienced and thought of over the years. It's just woe is me. It's another really good song to start us off, and we've got the energy up really high to begin this album. Oops, I nearly forgot to mention those sweeping, stabbing synth solos in It's Not Right. Sort of makes us feel as though we're going on an extraterrestrial journey and reminds me very much of Uncontrollable Urge from the first album, the way it just sort of takes off and keeps going. Wonderful, wonderful use of the synth here. And then we go into, well, is it a magnum opus? It's whatever it is. It's an incredibly great hit single, and that's Whip It. Now, many people have questioned what Whip It actually means here. And I suppose after the first two tracks of Unrequited Love and What Are We Going to Do About It, it's easy to understand that some people have thought that maybe this is an ode to self-pleasure. That if you can't get the girl, then it's time maybe to offer yourself a little pleasure and to take away those "oh woe is me" blues. Other people, principally because of the film clip, have seen this as a very misogynist lyric. But I think the band talk about how they read a news story about a guy who liked to use a whip to remove his wife's clothing or something like that, and that was what was the inspiration for the clip itself. But still, everything's highly ironic. I mean, I don't think Devo ever approved this. But what I think the song's really all about is it comes down to this idea of freedom of choice. It's time to actually do something. Don't get down about your choices in life. Make a choice and get on with it. And if you get knocked down, pick yourself up. It's an incredible song, brilliant lyrics, um, magnificent, catchy music that really stays in your head for a long time, and about the best sound of a best example of a whip sound that I can remember ever in a song. It stays with you. It stays with you. This one, and it totally deserved all the attention and that it got, and all the sales figures it got. And I absolutely loved it. And as I was saying before, maybe it's because of Whip It that I didn't originally think that this album was quite as good as I now believe it to be. So those are the first three songs, and what a great start. One of the real pleasures on revisiting this album was to discover some songs which I previously thought were filler. And Snowball is the absolute prime example of this. It probably is now my favorite song on the album. It's a modern take on the myth of Sisyphus, where two people are in love, and both, or in this case, particularly the girl, are trying so hard to reach that pinnacle and make the love work, they don't realize that they're making the problem only much worse, and that the love is doomed and destined to die. The synths here are spectacular. We have arpeggiated synthesizers, more than just one. It sounds a bit like a 60s Farfisa organ, and they're just absolutely melodic, and they counterpoint beautifully the mournful, reflective lyrics that are given out here. Absolutely wonderful playing, and the lyrics too just are so sad and poignant as well. My baby took our love, and then she rolled it up. She rolled it up a hill like a ball of snow, like a snowball grows until it gets too big, until she lost control and it rolled back down. Beautiful, heartfelt, mournful, wistful lyrics. God, I'm going through those adjectives pretty quickly now. And that moves us on to Ton of Love, which is, this is probably the first sort of kind of dispensable song for me, although I do love the synthesizer solos in here. It has one of the weirdest lyrics that on the album, and it's find a girl with the face of a clock, hands move forward till you can't stop. She comes from above with a ton of love. I'm not really sure what it means, to tell you the truth. I've tried to rack my brain to work it out, but then maybe it's a bit indecipherable to me. And that moves us on to the title track of the album, Freedom of Choice. Love the way this song starts off with the pounding of the toms, and it kicks in with that killer riff, almost like "Oh Pretty Woman" from Roy Orbison. Uh, it's a great song, which at first, on first listen, you feel as though it's championing the idea of freedom of choice, and how most democratically elected countries offer their citizens and individuals that freedom of choice. But the song really takes on a much darker turn when it satirizes that whole notion and says we may be given freedom of choice, but what we actually do is want to resile, what's the word I'm looking for, recoil from that freedom of choice, and just leave me alone. Let me stay in my cage and do what I'm supposed to do, rather than take on the opportunities of life. Great lyric here in the chorus. In ancient Rome, there was a poem about a dog who found two bones. He picked at one, he licked at the other, he went in circles, he dropped dead. And so just make a choice. And not making a choice, as has been so well pointed out by alt rock hippie chick, I think, altrockchick.com. Not making a choice is in fact making a choice. It's a fantastic title track, and after going through a number of songs that are about love, it's really nice to have some real bite to the lyrics here, and a great way to finish the first side of music. So after the rather depressing, lyrically at least, end to side one with Freedom of Choice, even though the music was really upbeat and energetic, Devo comes out on side two and implores us into action and to twist away the gates of steel. I love the interplay between the power chords here. This song rocks, and those synthesizers. And there's a sensational synth solo there for a brief while in the middle. God, there's a lot of S's going on here. The lyrics are twist away the gates of steel, unlock the secret voice, give in to ancient noise, take a chance, a brand new dance, twist away the gates of steel. Great way to start the second album. And then we move into a song called Cold War, which I'm sure as a 15-year-old back in the day, I would have dismissed out of hand. But listening with ears afresh, I'm really enjoying the exploding, swirling, spacey synths. Oh, God, there's more S's again. Again, this takes me back to the first album in particular, the Brian Eno produced Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. And some of those synth sounds really are reminiscent of songs like Shrivel Up and Jocko Homo. And a real delight. It's a short song, but it kicks a punch, and it's really cool. And then we move on to Don't You Know, which is again another song about unrequited love, and it's sort of like from the perspective of a man who has sort of stamped his tag on a woman and said, "Hey, baby, I really want you. What are you going to do about it?" And when she does nothing, he's like, "Oh, well, what am I going to do?" It's a very twisted solo section in here from the synths. I was going to say bizarre, but that's sort of got some sibilance going on as well, which get those quirky flavors, and it's really great to hear them on Freedom of Choice, which I certainly didn't hear in the past. And it's got that sort of, I suppose, classic part of the lyrics. I got a rocket in my pocket, but I don't know what to do. Like a plug without a socket, I'm just waiting round for you. Again, it's about the man or the person waiting around for something to happen rather than twisting away those gates of steel and making a choice. So thematically, the two motifs that run through this album of choice and unrequited love and the attitude towards love combine in this song really well. That's Pep is up next. And when was the last time you heard the word pep used in a conversation? I don't know, it seems to be a long time, but it harkens back again to, I suppose, those ideas of masculinity from the 1950s and the way that times have changed. And they list a number of ways and behavioral ways in which you can show pep throughout. Once again, it's imploring the listener to make a choice and face up to the challenges and just whip it. Still, great riff to start off with. Bam, 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 do, 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 bam, bam, bam. Love it. That takes us on to Mr. B's Ballroom, which is a 50s rocker with an 80s sensibility all about it. And it's a critique on those who reduce love to lust, and then they reduce themselves with alcohol and that all of that herd mentality. Great lyrics, if I can read for you. So drink some beers and go crazy tonight. They're all dressed up, and they'll be getting it tonight. Big swingers in double knits tonight. Big baby's going to get in a fight, acting crazy, busting up the chairs, doubled over, getting sick on the stairs. Wow. I mean, I'm sure that we've all seen situations like that, which is quite pathetic. And once again, life not quite turning out the way a lot of people might have thought it would, in a sense. And so alcohol is used to douse out the disappointment. And that disappointment really shines through on the last track, Planet Earth, which I'm really getting a sense of Gary Newman here. And I think Pleasure Principle and what was the name of the other album? Replicas. I think they were both released before this album. So maybe there is sort of a cross fertilization or cross pollination going on. But it's like we've got this sense of an outsider, again, that Newman-esque idea, looking down, a stranger from a strange land, looking down on Earth. And on planet Earth, I'll probably stay. On planet Earth, it's a place to live your life. But harkening back to the gates of steel, there's this really ominous lyric in there, which is, I saw a man on a stage scream, put me back in my cage. And for all of our understanding, lessons, and learning that we've gone through with this album and through life, we're going back into the cage and not twisting away from the gates of steel. So, as I said, a very foreboding way to end the album. And side two finishes with Planet Earth. If you had have told me that I would have got so much enjoyment out of revisiting this album, I would have thought you were crazy, because I've just been such a disciple to the first two. But there it is, Devo's Freedom of Choice. It's gone from what I thought was a sort of a start of the decline for the band. I wasn't a real fan of New Traditionalists, even though I did see them on that tour, and it was one of the best concerts I have ever seen in my life. I think I was in the second row at the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney, and from start to finish, they just wowed me, and I was like, my eyes were just looking up on the stage, completely blown away. And that's exactly what's happened revisiting with Freedom of Choice. I've enjoyed it immensely, and I can't believe that it's unlike so many albums which sort of don't stand the test of time. This one's grown better, I think, for me. Um, there's the back. I've just got to point out, what the hell is Gerald doing there? Well, I think we all know. But that ties into the idea of love and unrequited love and etc., etc., etc. So Devo, pioneers, innovators, absolutely brilliant, quirky. They, you know, even though I said that there was reminded me a little bit of Gary Newman, they are their own beast, and they've always been that way. And we should really take time to praise those who are originals. I got so much pleasure out of listening to this album once more. And if music of any size, shape, or Spud Boy or Spud Girl gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? Hope you're doing really well. I hope you might have enjoyed this video and might take the time to give it a like. But until next time, be safe and bye now.